If you want to know if the weekly dividend ETFs are actually making people money, you're in the right spot. This is my weekly dividend account where I own all 8 different weekly dividend ETFs from RoundHill, YieldMax, and Defiance. And today we're going to break down how the account has done over the last week. If you're new to the channel, I put $100 into each of these, totaling $800 about 7 or 8 weeks ago. And since then, I've been making weekly updates tracking their progress. So if you like this video and you want to see more, or you just want more investing, more stock, more content to help you make money in the stock market, don't forget to like and subscribe to let me know. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over a few announcements, but first let's roll the intro. Although we are up in the account by $31 so far, we are down $14 from last week's video. After all the news with the election came out, the stock market went absolutely insane, and since then it's trailed off a little bit, but we got some really good news in the form of dividends from some of these funds. Now, before we get into all the details with each fund, I want to know I am going to be putting out some different styles of content, and I want to know what you guys think. I want some feedback on this. So my plan for 2025, I'm going to continue doing the weekly dividend account. I think it's really fun. I think it's really interesting. And I think you guys are enjoying it. And the community has really helped me grow based off of this playlist. And so I want to continue to do that. On my other account, I'm going to just be doing higher risk, high yielding stocks, whether they pay quarterly or monthly. And I want to do this in that account so I can track the difference. Maybe I'll own some YieldMax in there. I know a few that I'm already going to put in there, but I want to see how not only the NAV compares with these, but how the dividends compare and how each of them actually make money. And then I want to do a third account. And this is something that I haven't spoken about on the channel yet, but I want to throw in a third account of literally all high, not necessarily high risk, but just foreign and domestic stock. I want to put some other things in the account like SoFi, like Tesla, maybe Amazon, maybe Nvidia, PLTR. I want to throw in a lot of these stocks, so it won't be a dividend focused account, but I'm going to do that simply to compare it to these accounts. Because one thing I've been noticing is there's a lot of people that really don't think dividend investing is worth it. And now I'm not necessarily saying that it is or isn't. I love dividend investing, as you can tell by my channel. But what I want to do is I want to compare the returns from each of these and notice the pros and cons. I want to compare the higher risk to the lower risk, lower reward, and vice versa. So if you guys are interested in those, let me know in the comments down below what you think. If you want to rank them, do 1, 2, and 3 on the accounts that you want to see. So you can say 1 for the dividend ETFs, 2 for the high yield ETFs, and 3 for the normal stocks. Let me know exactly which ones you're looking forward to, and I'll try and prioritize those for sure. So now let's get into this account and see how things are going. Starting off week, as I always do with the Defiance R2000 ETF, IWMY. The biggest loser in the account, as we've seen for many weeks in a row. It's even down worse than it was last week. And we can see the unrealized P&L is 6.88%. We're down $7. Now, this thing's always going to, I have to fix the backwards adjusted chart. If you guys want to open a Moomoo account, I'll link everything down below. It helps to support the channel, but if you guys don't want to, that's okay too. Moomoo, it has surprised me. I really do like it, and I think it's a really good way to do these challenges. Some of the charts are just really beautiful, as well as I like the dividends and everything. But you guys probably already have accounts. I understand that. So looking at IWMY, we saw a bit of a drop. So one thing that I loved is last week, because the market was so red hot, when we dropped, it rose farther than it was before it paid out the dividend, which means we are seeing some crazy signs of growth. But it was very short-lived. As this market has tanked, the dividend paid out, and this thing fell to new all-time lows, and that is including the reverse split. Because it split, that's why this chart looks a little bit funny. But that being said, we can see the AUM is 118. I believe that's up a little bit. The dividend yield is 113.9. That is also up. Now, we're going to continue to see the dividend yield rise with this as we see the NAV fall, because there's an inverse ratio between those two. So as the price falls, the percentage of money they are paying out is increasing. Because, like, very simple, let's say it's trading for $10 and they're paying a $1 dividend to be 10%. If the price falls to, say, $5, all of a sudden that dividend is going to be significantly more. You're going to be at 20%, because $1 of 5 would be 20, while 1 of 10 would be 10. That's probably not the best way to explain it, and hopefully that makes sense in my brain. It might not in yours, but that's why. So the more you see a price fall, the higher the yield is going to go. And with normal stocks, you'd be really worried about this because they'll do a dividend cut. I'm not sure what IWMY is going to try to do. But that being said, the last 4 dividends, we saw a 31 cent, a 31.5 cent, a 33 cent, and recently a 42 cent dividend. So that's some of the perks with IWMY is it is paying out higher and higher dividends, which I really do like to see. I'm very surprised by it, but it is solid. We had a higher dividend than the last, 3 or 4 weeks? Yeah, the highest that we've seen in quite a while. So although this one is still the biggest loser in the account, it has paid out a lot in dividends. But when I pull up the spreadsheet I'm using to track all the dividends, it'll tell us if we're actually making money or losing money on IWMY. Spoiler alert, we're losing money, which is why I do that. Because even though it looks good, the dividends keep going up, we're still losing money. So with that being said, let's go into QQQY. This one really disappointed me this week. I thought that QQQY would hold up a little bit better. Now, it's still better than by 3% compared to IWMY, but still we're down 4%, total P&L of $4.19. Now we can see this one was trading a little bit better sideways. We didn't see it fully recoup from last week's dividends, which was strange because the market was insane. And so when it didn't reach that and then it started to fall back off again when the dividend was paid, it's kind of what you expect. So what I'm expecting now is it'll trail back up, but I don't think we're going to see more of this style of trading sideways. I hope that we do, but these ones are just not doing it for me. We can see AUM much larger of 184 million and a dividend yield of 86.9. Again, the dividend yield is continuing to climb with this one too as the price falls and volume kind of goes stagnant. So we can see last 4 dividends, 27.5 cents, 25.5 cents, 26.5 cents, and now almost 34 cents. So I'm not sure why they are increasing their dividends. I don't know if it's the volatility going up. I don't know if it's just the options premiums with these doing better. But all in all, it's very, very strange to me, and the price continues to fall. I wish they would just pay less of a dividend and let the stock trade sideways, let the ETF trade sideways. So again, a little bit disappointed in QQQY, but some of the other ones made up for it in the account this week. Let's jump into the last Defiance ETF, which is WDTE. Down only 2.7%. We've lost $2.28 on the account, and we can see that our market value is slowly falling. We have WDTE. Now, if you guys don't know, maybe this is the first time you've seen one of these videos in this playlist, the only difference between the RoundHill and the YieldMax, well, they're all 3 different, but the Defiance ETFs sell cash-secured puts. And so that's what makes these vastly different than the others. It's a very different style of option, and it kind of works inversely to the normal covered calls that we see with the RoundHill. And we see them with the YieldMax too, but the YMax and YMag fund don't do it on their own. They hold funds that do it. And so we can see this one, it did not reach, it was really, really close to this former dividend payout day, which would have meant that you wouldn't have lost any money, but you would have just made that dividend money. And now we see it fell pretty hard. And typically after the dividends paid out, the fund bumps a little bit because people start buying in again for the next dividend, which might be a better way to trade these. I'm not really sure. That's a lot of work, and I'm already doing a lot of work with a lot of these things. So I'm going to let the experts work on that. Let me know if you guys like to do that in the comments. But we can see AUM of 86 million. This is the smallest, I think, out of all the funds in this account. And we can see a dividend yield of 53.45. Now, the yield has not been climbing as badly as the others, but let's see if the dividend matches up. Did this one pay out a really high dividend this week as well? Last 4 dividends, 25 cents, 28, almost 29 cents, and now 33.5 cents. So it did. These ones all of a sudden paid out huge dividends, and I don't know why. It's really, really strange, but I like it because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those dividends to buy more RoundHill funds because that just seems like the thing to do. But still, that's so interesting. If you guys know why the dividends this week were so solid, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if you're still holding the Defiance ETFs, because I don't hold them outside of this account like I do with some of the other ETFs. And the more I do these updates, the less likely I'm going to, even though it does give you some nice cash flow. But let's jump into those YieldMax funds and see how they have been treating the account. My dear, dear YieldMax funds, they are, as usual, doing pretty well. They're not the biggest winners in the account this week. That actually, well, no, YieldMax is. YieldMax is our best winner for the week, followed by XDTE, and that's just in the unrealized P&L. We'll see the actual winners based off the dividends as well, but you'll notice something strange with YMag and YMax, and that is that our quantity, the number of shares that I own, is over 5. And so all the rest are whole numbers, and these ones were slowly gaining more and more shares because drip is turned on. I don't know why Moomoo only lets me drip the YieldMax funds. I can't do it with any of the other funds as of the last time I checked, which was about last week. I wish that I could because it'd be really cool, but I can't. So we are going to continue to drip just these two, and I am going to continue to just purchase like this. Tomorrow I'll be buying a share of QDTE and XDTE, and then the following week, not the following week, but the following couple of weeks, if I can get enough, I'll buy another share of RDTE and continue to do so. And we'll see how fast we can actually grow this account. Now, looking at YieldMax, we can see we are up, not too crazy, 1.82% and $1.61. But last week we were a bit higher. So YieldMax has fallen a little bit. And this chart, it always surprises me because this thing was just trending so poorly until they switched to weeklies, and now people are loving them. We saw a nice little breakout. It has come down a little bit, but definitely kind of trading sideways or looking like it's starting to trade sideways. I like when we have that breakout upward. Maybe we'll continue to trend that way. YieldMax is a very, very large fund, especially compared to the Defiance ETFs at $385 million and a dividend yield of 34.7. I recently did a video, and I'll link this video at the end, on YieldMax and the actual payout that I've been getting because it's different. It's not exactly how they say it. It actually ended up being better than I thought it was going to be. And so I was really, really impressed by it, and I'll link that at the end of the video. And now, with all that being said, the last four dividends we can see were 22.5 cents, 22.7 cents, 22.5 cents, 12 cents, and 15.23 cents. So nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. This dividend is a little bit lower than most of the last recent ones, but it's not the lowest. And again, if you guys aren't familiar with YieldMax, it really depends on, it holds a ton of the other ETFs from YieldMax. And so when they pay out their dividends, really depends, or this dividend depends on when those ones pay out their dividends. That was a really confusing way of saying that. So what that means is as those ones pay out, they pay out monthly. So they only pay out once a month. So if there's a bunch of them that pay out in the first 2 weeks of the month, that dividend will be larger. If there's only a few that pay out the last week of the month, it will be smaller. And so that is why we'll see a lot of fluctuation with the dividends. As long as the yield is consistent, that is what is key with these. So all in all, the chart's looking pretty solid, pretty healthy. I like that we're still in this little bubble, kind of ranging up and down. We can see it's going kind of from a high of 18 to a low of 1670. And so as long as it trades between there, it should be healthy, and that dividend yield should keep sustaining absolutely everything. So again, YieldMax is doing well. YMAG as well, still doing good. We can see $1.61 up and 1.64% in price appreciation so far. Drip is on, so we already have purchased. Here's the crazy thing. We have already purchased 1/10 of a share. It's been 2 weeks. So that means what? In 20 weeks, we're going to have a whole nother share. And so the compounding with this is going to be insane. The reason that YMAG has more than YieldMax is because YieldMax's drip wouldn't turn on the first week. Something about how the dividend was paid out. And so I turned it on when I could. And so we've had one more week of drip for YMAG than YieldMax, and we'll continue to see that trend. But all in all, I'm happy with the return for YMAG as well. Let's jump into the stats. We can see it did run up like crazy with the market last week. It sold off not terribly. It didn't even reach kind of the median price point it's been trading at, which is like the 1916. We're still about 20 cents above that, which I like to see. We can see a lot of AUM, 190, smaller than YieldMax. And then we can see a dividend yield of 33.44. Now, YMAG was kind of my favorite pick of the YieldMax funds going back the last couple of months. And then it went weekly, which made it even better. I'm coming around to YieldMax as well. I think both of them are solid, and I think the diversity between both is really, really good. I know that YieldMax holds more Bitcoin, I believe. YMAG holds no Bitcoin. So that's why I'm not the biggest. I have my crypto separately, and I am a fan of crypto, but I don't understand it like I understand the stock market. And so I kind of like to stick to what I know, but I do think I will be buying some YMAG and YieldMax in my own account. And then I will be putting out some videos. I usually call them all my dividends from, I've done QDTE, XDTE, RDTE is going to come out sometime. and then I'll do some on the YieldMax funds too, but I don't own shares in my retirement account of these. So I'm going to have to do it a little bit of a different way, which is not hard to do. And then I am going to buy some of these. I've decided I think it's a great option, and I love the weekly income. I like getting a little notification on my phone. And so I am happy that I will be purchasing these. I should have done it before they ran up, but the last 4 dividends show a 5-cent, which again, YMAG is even worse than YMAX because there's only 7 funds in it. And so if you have 6 of them pay out the first 3 weeks and you only have 1 of them pay out, it'll just be significantly less, and that's kind of how it goes. So we had a 5-cent dividend, and then a 15-cent, and then a 21-cent, and then another 21-cent, even a little bit higher. So really good dividend payout for YMAG. I'm happy to see that. Let's jump over into the very popular and very large RoundHill ETFs. Before I get into QDTE, I wanted to give you guys a huge shout out. I never expected when I started making videos on YouTube that I would have anyone in my community as nice as so many of you are. Of course, people are negative, and I actually do enjoy the feedback too. But I really appreciate you guys, and we're almost to 4,000 subscribers, which is crazy. I can't even believe that, and a lot of that is because of you guys commenting and liking and supporting the channel. And so I'm just so grateful to you guys. And that being said, QDTE. So we can see QDTE is only up 0.5%. Not terrible. These have all fallen from last week. If you want to go watch last week's video, it is in the past, of course, but they were all up green. I think we only had like 1 in the red, or maybe even all of them were in the positive. But QDTE, not bad. Still up 0.5%. Nothing really crazy. But we jump into the chart. We see a similar one. These are actually really getting similar to the YMAG chart because we saw it rise, we saw it fall, but the trend seems to be a bit similar. That's interesting. Huge AUM, 120 million, and a dividend yield of 24%. Now, when I calculated my dividend yield in my QDTE dividends video, I got it closer to, I think it was like 36 to 38% dividend, and that was based off of what I've been paid. So the dividend is higher than that. I know that as much just from my own math. But if you want to double check, run the numbers yourself, and let me know. Now we can see, again, trading sideways. I like these charts seem to be a lot healthier. We have a high of $46 and a low of $39. So not a whole lot of swing and not a consistent downtrend like we saw with the Defiance ETFs. The last 4 dividends show 21 cents, 20.5 cents, 26.5 cents, and 25.3 cents. So not a huge dividend, but definitely not a low one. A little bit on the higher end for QDTE. I'm happy. This is one that I've owned in my account the longest, and thus I've seen this one do really well. I think last time I checked, I was up 4 or 5% in my main account with this one, and so I'm happy. I'm very happy with the returns I've gotten, with the dividends I've gotten, and with that being said, let's jump into XDTE, a really phenomenal one as well. XDTE, we can see the numbers have adjusted ever so slightly because Moomoo tracks everything in the aftermarket too, which is, I think, really cool. So it is up 1.22%, and I'm happy with that. We can see that WDTE dropped even more since I made the portion on it, which was 20 minutes ago. But XDTE is looking good. We have $105.90 in this one. I might buy RDTE. No, I'm going to buy XDTE and QDTE because they're just more consistent. And they have a little bit better history. RDTE, I mean, look at XDTE's chart. Look at this. It's beautiful. It looks like a normal stock chart. You would never guess that this was a weekly payer besides all the dividends coming out down here. And that's what I like. You know, again, we have a high of 53, almost $54, and a low of 48. So you only have a $5 swing, even less than that, really. So you're able to hold it. You have some volatility within this $5 range, but you could always buy when it hits 50, and then if you wanted to sell it when it hit 52, you'd be out a little bit now, but you can sell it and consistently trade it that way, or just hold it like I do for the dividend. It really doesn't seem to matter much because I'm making a lot of money off the dividends on this one too. We can see AUM a lot smaller than QDTE, 212 million, and a lower dividend yield of 15.46. Now on my XDTE video, the yield was still in the 30s, I believe, lower 30, maybe 32%. And so again, the yield's a lot higher than they have it on here. This is because they don't have quite enough of a dividend history for Moomoo to track, so it's basing it off of some incomplete data, and that's why that pops up like that. But all in all, the dividends have been higher than that. And so we can actually see we saw a 24-cent dividend, a 15.5-cent dividend, a 21.4-cent dividend, and a 27.4. So a really, really solid dividend coming from XDTE. It's actually bigger. It goes all the way back to September 12 was the last time we had a dividend larger than this week's. So I'm happy. I'm very happy. I like XDTE. It's the other one. I hold RDTE, XDTE. I hold all the NEOS funds. Sorry, all the RoundHill funds, because they are making me money. And I'll say that XDTE was only up $4 or $5 in my account, but still, that's not with the dividends being included. So I'm very, very pumped with how these are turning out. And now let's jump into the riskier and newer fund, RDTE. So we actually see RDTE up $1.73, which is $1.46, now 1.66. It's still continuing to update. And this one has much less of a trading history, but it did rise all the way to 46, and it started at 41. So since the launch, this thing has done well. People are buying it. People are enjoying it seemingly because it's not trending downward. And with the market doing well, this thing ran up pretty nicely. Much lower AUM of 88 million and a dividend yield of 5%. That's not true. It's in the 30s as well. But again, we can't track that. Now, what I like about RDTE, I don't think we're going to see the AUM reach 500 million anytime soon, but you have a lot more potential for growth when it comes to this one. QDTE has a lot more of a dividend history. Same thing with XDTE. And the only thing I think that could be a downside for this one is the fact that it's based off the Russell 2000. And now the problem with that, or it's not necessarily a problem, the preference people have with that is the Russell 2000 has underperformed both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 over the last 4 to 5 years. So people may be less happy to jump into a fund that has been underperforming, even if the yield's a little bit higher because the implied volatility is higher. But if the Russell 2000 has a good year and even keeps pace with the NASDAQ and with the S&P 500, then we could see some great returns and some insane price appreciation. But until it can kind of prove itself a little bit more, I think RDTE might struggle to grow as much as the other ones have. Now, if you are very bullish on the Russell 2000 and on this fund specifically, it would be like getting in at the ground floor, nearly. It is up a little bit, like I said, from when it first started trading, but you'd be able to buy in when the AUM is much lower, and thus as it grows and the price action continues to trend how it has and more money goes into the fund, they're making more money, the dividend's doing good, you can make a lot of money. So I'm not sure it's going to do that. I'm not saying it's going to do that, but let's check the last 4 dividends. We can see 33.5 cents, 25.75 cents, and then we see 26.28 cents and 33.4. So again, a rock star dividend. It's second, just below the largest one of the month, but still a solid dividend. A lot of these paid out well. Market volatility must be up because something's happening that these dividends are paying out like mad. But with RDTE doing so well, the YieldMax funds doing so well, I'm glad that this account is positive. I was worried I would buy these and they would all sink. Now, if I didn't have the Defiance ETFs, I would be sitting much better in the account. But let's fact check that and see how our spreadsheet is looking for all the dividends paid out and the percentage of increase each of these funds have made. Okay, so we are back in the Excel spreadsheet. I made this myself. I know you can tell because it's super ugly, but we're going to look at it for a few minutes anyway. So here's all the dividends. I've been tracking them every time they get paid out. And this is I think I put the day that I get paid. Maybe not. Did I get paid today? I don't remember. Anyways, this is how I'm tracking it. And these are all based off of the number of shares over here, right? So like IWMY did not pay $1.27 a share. It paid that for 3 shares. So divide that by 3, and that goes for all of these. And so what I'm going to do first is we'll look at the amount that we've made. So IWMY had the largest dividend I've ever seen from the fund, which is crazy. QQQY had 1 penny less than the largest dividend, which is also crazy. And then we had WDTE trading and matching its highest dividend yet. So something's going on. The volatility must be good, or I guess maybe with the market dropping, the puts are doing better. I don't know. But then we see, like QDTE paid 51 cents, which is right around the middle. And then we have XDTE paying 55 cents. Wow, XDTE paid 55 cents. That's huge. That's the biggest dividend we've seen so far. Great for XDTE. We saw that on the chart as well. We had RDTE paying 67 cents, which is above average. And I love that. We had YMAG with a huge dividend of $1.05. Definitely, these ones are so mixed up because of how the underlying funds pay out, but still a really solid dividend. And then we had YMAX with 76 cents, a little bit on the lower side, but again, not terrible. So what we are going to do now is I'm going to hit equals, and we're going to do the combination of all of the dividends per. So we had for IWMY, it's paid $6.43 and trend downward. We see QQQY has paid $5.27 total. WDTE $3.42, QDTE $3.49, XDTE only $3.06, RDTE huge with $4.27, and then YMAG and YMAX $6.47 for YMAG, $6.54 for YMAX. Very, very impressive. Just based off the look of it, these two are very close, but YMAX does take the cake because the dividend is higher and the percentage return was also higher. So what we're going to do, I'm going to run a few more numbers and we'll see the exact number of dividends that have been paid out so far. But I also want to plug all this data in and get a percentage return to see which one is yielding the highest, because that makes a huge difference, because I didn't put just $100 into each fund. We don't have the ability to buy fractional shares on Moomoo. And so when it comes to these ETFs, I have to track and show the percentage return. So just because YMAG and YMAX have returned the most money in dividends, they also had some of the most money invested initially, which is why it's so much higher. And so that's why this is going to be very, very interesting. So let me do some math and I'll be right back. It's getting messy. I feel like every time I do this, I forget how I did it, and I have to work my way through it again. But I wanted to point out we have made $38.95 in dividends, which is crazy. And that's also why Moomoo shows a PL of negative, because we are technically negative in just price, but we are positive in cash flow combined with the price. Now, that being said, what I did was I took all the dividends that we've made total so far, including this week's, and I added them to the outstanding value, the market value that we've seen. And now the only one that ended up being negative is IWMY. So even though the dividends have been huge, we are down 26 cents from when we initially bought it. So again, the current market value plus all the dividends combined, and then we were supposed to subtract the value of the initial investment, but because we're in the negatives, it is negative. All the rest have done well. We can see that we have QQQY and WDTE up $1. Now going up $1, we'll show the percentages because that makes more sense, but we see some crazy returns from YMAG and YMAX. We've returned $10 on YMAG and almost $9 on YMAX. Now, percentages are important, so what I did was I took our return, our not a percent return, just our total financial return, what the money we've made or lost, divided that by the initial investment, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to multiply it. We're going to say equals this, and we're going to multiply it by 100, and that's going to give us our percent return so far, and we're going to drag that down. So, oh man, absolutely crazy. So this is percentages. This is not just total dollar amount, it's percentage made. So we have lost 0.25% on IWMY, we're up 1% on QQQY, and 1.35% on WDTE, which I was surprised about, because all the numbers look terrible, but you have to remember we have quite a bit less. We have $20, well, $16 less invested in WDTE. Then we get into the RoundHill funds. QDTE, we're up 4.6%. And then again, with XDTE, we are up 4.6%. With RDTE, we're up 4.8%. And then we start getting into the double digits. YMAG is up 10.6%, and YMAX is up 10.14%. Now, these things have been paying out some crazy dividends, and the price return, they're not only are they paying out the most in dividends, but they are up the most in price return. So it makes sense that they've returned the most. But this is what? 10% in just a matter of under 2 months. So if they did this for an entire year, you can imagine you'd be up 60%. So I'm going to have to buy these funds. I need to keep tracking all this data because I do love this stuff. And so I hope you guys really enjoy it as well. I'm going to have some new things coming to the channel, like a channel membership where you can get exclusive perks and whatnot, but I'm working that out because I want it to be valuable for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, go down there right now and start typing. Are you surprised by the YieldMax funds having such a good return? Because I am. I'm blown away by it. I never would have guessed. I would have put it right around the Defiance funds, but it's been blowing those out of the water as well as the RoundHill funds just out of the water. So as always, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out these videos for more content.